Hello, and thank you for choosing my talk, Dr. Albert Isaiah Coffin, Professor of Medical Botany. My name is Gay Evans, and I've been a family historian for 37 years. I first came across Dr. Coffin when I was researching another talk, but his name intrigued me. I was trying to think, would I consult a doctor whose surname was Coffin? I'm personally not so sure, but thousands do. So let's take a brief look at his life. He's born in the United States of America, New York State to be precise, in 1791. His parents are called Noah and Lydia. But the first evidence I can find of him in the United Kingdom is in the 1840 White's Directory for Hull. It's really difficult to pinpoint when he arrives in the United Kingdom. It's anywhere between 1832, 1838. There is talk that he was escaping America because he was about to face a trial for manslaughter. At the moment, I found no evidence of that, but he does also travel to France and Germany before arriving in this country. He describes himself as a botanist and then later a physician. Then later he has the title MD after his name. He uses the word doctor a lot, which surprises me actually when I've read about him, because he absolutely despises, I would say hates, the medical profession that relies on scientific information, scientific methods. He believes only in the natural method, that can cure everything. He says that medical doctors, the established doctors, as he wants to call them, are responsible for thousands of deaths. In 1841, he's living in Hull. He's down as 40 here, but anybody who's researched the 1841 census knows that age is a bit fluid, normally within only 5 years, but he's actually 50. And he's living with somebody called Sarah Coffin, who's 25. I don't know whether that's a wife or a partner or a daughter, although I can find no mention of children at any point. In the introduction to his books, he talks about learning an awful lot from Samuel Thompson, a fellow American and a fellow herbalist. He also talks about living with Native American tribes. In his words, living in their wigwams, learning their medicines, learning how they treat themselves using herbs and plants, and particularly the Seneca tribe. His publications, his Guide to Health, and you can see here it's printed in other languages. By the time of his death, it has actually reached 40 editions. That takes some going. We don't know the print run, but 40 editions, that's pretty good, isn't it? Somebody's buying them. I came across him in his treatise to midwifery. And then I'm waiting for a copy of Lectures on Medical Botany. I managed to find an old one from the 1850s. His belief absolutely was a strong believer in the fact that medical botany would revolutionize the medical world. And as he said, thousands perish under the hands of other doctors that would otherwise have survived. He tours the country giving lectures. He uses halls, temperance halls in particular. He has an affinity with them because he doesn't particularly believe in alcohol. And maybe that is a willing audience for him. The full titles of the lectures will be in the handout. 1851, he's now living in London. It took me a minute to find him because he's transcribed as Coldfield, not Coffin. He's now got an assistant in the practice and he has 4 servants working for him, which is no mean feat. So clearly got an acceptable, good living from his medications, publications, lectures. 10 days after the census is taken, at the age of 16, marries Sarah, who's a widow. He's described as a widower. Now, he's also making money from having agents. And around the country, people who want to follow his doctrine make money. They're variously called followers or disciples of Dr. Coffin. This is William B. Ford. Now, in the directories at 134 High Holborn, it is actually under Dr. Coffin's name. But in 1861, William B. Ford is still living there with his family. And here is an index to one of the editions of his book. As you can see, it's fairly comprehensive. The books run to about 350 pages, and here there's details on herbs, plants, diseases, illnesses, complaints. Now, I noticed in his later editions, cancer has been removed from the list. So whether he decides that he actually can't cure cancer, and that's why he's removed it, obviously I'm not sure. But the herbs he recommends, in particular in his recipes, is labella or lobelia, as it's spelt later, inflator. There are various ways of pronouncing it, and cayenne pepper. They're absolutely two key things. He has a belief that it's to do with heat in your body, and that can cure. So you can imagine with a recipe with cayenne pepper in, it's quite hot. So lobelia inflata has other names. It is called the puke weed. It is also called Indian tobacco. So the puke weed gets its name because if you take too much of it or even some of it, it makes you throw up, vomit. And that seems to be partly the challenge that some of the medical profession established are using little bits of it, but he's saying you can have as much of it as you like, and that's where they start to get into trouble. And here he is selling his Dr. Coffin's Indian pills, so whether that is related, as I said, to his time with the Native American tribes, possibly, and some medicated compound for skin and hair. But he's making money from employing these agents around the country who are selling his medication, promoting his methods, but also setting up friendly societies where you paid a subscription. You went to his lectures possibly and then were so intrigued that, this is the way forward. I don't have to pay for a medical doctor. I can believe and do this myself. At his lectures, there is a description of one of his lectures in the handout, and there's rounds of applause. He comes across as a confident, charismatic, possibly arrogant doctor. And here are two of his recipes. One for cough pills, lobelia is in there, and cayenne, of course. And the other recipe is for indigestion and stomach problems. But the newspaper headlines, Coffinism, which it was titled, A Coffinite Quack. Now, at this trial for manslaughter, this quack doctor who's following Dr. Coffin and his methods is jailed for 3 months. The jury find him guilty. And the judge, we may not think 3 months is very long, but the judge commends them, going, you've done a great job, because so many of these doctors get off and are not sent to prison. And I absolutely am not convinced, and that they should be allowed to go free, that they should be sent to prison. 1862, a 45-year-old woman is pronounced dead shortly after taking some medicine. But the doctor is acquitted. It's very difficult. The people that are called to give evidence are often medical, scientific doctors, let's call them. They're performing the autopsies. Are they biased? Is there evidence bias towards these, what they see as quack doctors? They really do dislike each other. So, as I say, it is difficult to know. And of course, the other thing is the people that are buying this medicine are ill. So what has killed them? Is it the disease or the complaint that they had, or is it the medicine? And certainly in some cases, the judge talks about it accelerating death, but they can't specifically say it caused death. An article. It's quite a comprehensive article, and some of it is in the handout. Dr. Henry Letherby, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, in 1856 wrote an article in this book, Family Friends. This is an original from 1856 in very good condition, but he's scathing, absolutely scathing, and he lists these people that he considers to be victims of this type of medicine. And I will say, before I move on, I should have said that recently I found on Google Books that Dr. Coffin did a 16-page rebuttal and said it was slanderous to say all these things about him. So that is available. There will be a link in the handout. But here's Edward Plant, 57. He's got a cough. He's treated by an unknown herbalist, and that's the problem. The family can't remember where the medicine's been purchased from. The outcome? Death by taking lobelia inflata, which has been inadvertently self-administered. Then we have 31-year-old Thomas Bedwell. He's treated by Dr. Coffin directly. And outcome? Natural death. Now, he's saying that he arrived in England, and since arriving in England, he has imported £4,000 worth of lobelia from America. Another witness was Dr. Henry Letherby. So it's conflicting, but the outcome? Natural death. Then we have the youngest person I can find, which is Robert Smith Messenger, age 3. His ailment is paralysis, not from birth, but being left in a cold place for too long. And his father takes him to various hospitals and nothing apparently can be done. So he turns to an agent of Dr. Coffin. He dies shortly after being given the medicine, and the outcome? Natural death. Now, in 1866, Albert Isaiah Coffin is buried at Kensal Green Cemetery. If you go to their website, they list famous notable residents of their cemetery, and Dr. Albert Isaiah Coffin is listed. Staggeringly, 18 years later, Matilda Sainsbury, age 44, chest complaint. She's been very ill for about 12 months, witnesses say, but she's particularly bad at this point in time. And she's treated by James Wallace, a follower of Dr. Coffin. She takes some medicine. She's told that she can take 2 tablespoons of it. She's taken half a bottle, but was told that she could take as much as she liked. That was a message passed from James Wallace. The outcome? Not guilty, but recommended to be more cautious in the use of drugs. The trial transcript is on the Old Bailey Archive website and worth a read, I think. Thank you so much for listening to this talk and watching, and I will be available for live chat when it's timetabled. But if you're watching this as a recording, please do drop me any questions or observations, and I'll do my very best to answer any questions. Please email me at family@thecuriouspast.co.uk. Thank you again for watching and listening, and thank you to the Society of Genealogists for choosing this talk on Dr. Coffin.